Hy laat my wat gesit.
Ja.
Nou word hy die donkerder.
Shit. Dis interessant, né? Good morning, everyone. I am going to wait until 11 o'clock to officially start this live chat, just so that everybody has a chance to log in. So in the meanwhile, you can have a look on the screen. This is just what we'll be using to navigate through the session. So if you want to ask me a question, you are going to click on the icon with the hand raised. And then you can also send me questions via the chat function. Okay. But until then, we wait. Good morning, everyone. Lizelle here. We're still waiting for students to join. Can I ask that when you join, just to make sure that your microphone is switched to mute until you have a question to ask, and then you can unmute and we will engage in conversation. So there is another 3 minutes, and then I'll start the session. Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope that this session is going to go okay. This is the first one I'm doing, so this is relatively new to me. I've tested it before, but this is the first time that I'm going to do it with quite a large number of students. I see we're at 48 attendees at the moment, and there's still 7 joining. So I thought how we'd run the session is just for me to give you some feedback on what the process or what's been going on my side, and then also opening up the session for your questions. So if you have a question that you want to ask, you will see here at the bottom of your screen, and I'm sure you've worked with this at some of the other live sessions that you've had with, for example, Hanneke. Just raise your hand. So click on that little button. Alternatively, you can also use the chat function. So if you click on that purple Collaborate panel, you'll see there's a chat function that you can also raise your questions there. I will be recording this session, so it should be available after 24 hours, and I will also update the frequently asked questions document with any questions that are raised over here. Okay, so, oh, nice, 62 attendees, and there's still more coming in. So while students are still joining, let me just tell you what's been going on my side. It's interesting times, right? Because life is definitely not what we are used to. A student WhatsApped me last week and said, you know, this is not a tax question, but she just wants to, you know, let me know that she's not coping and she feels as if she's losing her mind. And I wanted to say ditto. You know, this is exactly what I've been experiencing. And I'm sharing this with you because I think it's important that you know that from the lecturer's perspective, we're also unsure and uncertain and trying to cope in a situation that nobody has ever been confronted with. So I think it's more just a matter of asking you to bear with us, right? We make mistakes. We're probably going to make a lot more mistakes as we go through this. But if you stay in contact with us and you touch base with us if you are struggling or if you're not sure about something, I think the important thing is we're in this together. Okay, so that's my speech done for today. Let's get cracking. Does anybody have a question? There is. Hi, Lizelle. Is there a chance you can put voiceovers in the slides content? John, unfortunately, at this point in time, because the university requires of us to have a very low-tech approach, it is not possible to do voiceovers for all the slides. What I have been doing with the slides and what you should have picked up on is that they have been expanded on greatly. So where for a traditional face-to-face class, I'll have a picture on a slide, what you'll see now is I'll have an actual explanation and trying to take you through it step by step. So that the detailed slides is essentially my voiceover. What I have been making videos on is the case studies and just for each topic an introduction. And at this point, because we're actually being watched in terms of how much data we expect of students to use. So we have to be very careful in terms of creating content that is going to require a lot of data from students. So to answer your question, which took me a while, at this point in time, there isn't going to be voiceovers of all the slides. You work through the slides and then get back to me if there's something that you're not clear on. If I get questions that I think need the video, I will definitely do that. But at this point in time, all the questions that I've received so far have been relatively easy to explain either on an email or on WhatsApp. I hope that answered your question. Okay, any other questions? More questions? One had other questions, more questions. Okay, nobody's got a question. Let me start, or let's try it this way. Have you all been able to work through study pack 1? In other words, the general deduction formula and the court cases that go along with it. And are you fine with all of the content in study pack 1? Let's see. Okay, Boykanyo, you can unmute your mic and ask me your question.
I just raised my hand because I agreed.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. You guys have to talk to me. The only students I hear at the moment are my own children, and they are definitely not as keen to talk to me anymore. So if you have a question to ask me, please, raise your hand and unmute your mic. I love hearing your guys' voices. Yes, there's another hand.
Good morning, Lizelle.
Hi.
Can you please explain notional interest in terms of prohibited deductions?
Okay, so you're talking about section 23 that says you are not allowed to claim notional interest.
Yes.
Okay, so what that refers to is taxpayers that, let's say, for example, you have 100,000 Rand that you can go in and invest into something, right? So you take that 100,000 Rand and you buy a manufacturing machine from which you are going to be able to, produce products and earn income by selling it, right? But now you figure out, but listen, if I had taken that 100,000 Rand and I had put it in a money market account or whatever investment you can think of, I would have actually earned interest or investment income that would have given me more income than these products that I'm going to be manufacturing is going to give me, right? So it's sort of you lost out because you decided one thing instead of doing another thing. Then you are not allowed to claim that notional interest that you, according to you, had lost. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, right. Anything else? Oluwasian, am I saying that correctly? I hope so.
It's
Right, there is a, okay, yo, tell me how do I pronounce your name?
it's Oluwaseun.
Oluwashu. Okay, great. Thank you. That's a good question. Sumila on the chat function said, can you please explain the Labat court case a bit more? So what Labat was about was a company that issued shares, and in exchange for the issue of those shares, they acquired intellectual property. So what essentially happened was they bought intellectual property, and instead of paying it in cash, they paid it with the issuing of shares. And the court case was this whole debate about whether the issue of shares by a company constitutes expenditure actually incurred. And what the court said in the Labat court case was no. If a company issues shares, right, that's not expenditure that is actually incurred. And if you think about the accounting side of it, if a company issues shares, you are going to have a debit for bank, for example, and you're going to have a credit in equity. So the Labat court case came and said, stop. If you issue shares in consideration for the acquisition of an asset or the payment of an expense, it's not actually, you won't be able to claim the deduction. However, there is a section in the Income Tax Act, section 40CA, but it's not part of your syllabus. It's only if you go on to CTA. Then, which says now that if a company issues shares in exchange for assets or for the payment of assets, it is deemed to be expenditure actually incurred. Right. But Labat just came in and said, okay, listen, it is not. Sumila, does that answer your question? Great. Peter also said, can you also help with the Labat case? I've just explained that. So Peter, let me know if you're still unclear. And he also asks, should we know all the section numbers referring to section 23? Nope, you definitely don't. The one that I would suggest you start knowing is section 23M, because it relates to salaried employees and what deductions they are allowed or not allowed. But I don't expect you to know all the subparagraphs of section 23. I know there are students that prefer to use section numbers, and by all means you can run with it, but it is not something that you are going to lose marks for if you don't know them. Right. I'm going to come back to Delisa. I just want to get to Toletsang. You can ask me your question.
Hello, Lizelle.
Hello.
I have a question, but like it's with regards to gross income.
Okay, ask.
The 330-day rule. I've
Yes.
just I need you to clarify when it starts to apply, because I understand the rule and everything, but then they say it applies the first day after the 330-day period has passed. So I just need to understand, how will you know then that the 330 days have passed if you only start to apply that the person is no longer resident on the first day?
Yes, so that's a difficult one, right? And what you need to keep in mind is that 330-day rule is essentially going to mean that your taxpayer, you're going to have to look at your taxpayer over 2 years of assessment. Because in the current year of assessment, the moment that they leave South Africa, you don't know whether they're going to be outside of South Africa for more than 330 days, right?
Yes.
So what happens in practice is SARS will, once the taxpayer informs them that, listen, I have now been outside South Africa for more than 333 days, SARS will go back to the first year of assessment, the year that they left, and they will reopen their tax return for that year. And then for the first part, while they were still in South Africa and compliant with the physical presence test, they will tax them as a resident. And for the second part, in other words, from that day that they leave, they will tax them as a non-resident. I have a video, very basic and I don't want to say crude because that's the wrong word, but it's one that my son played videographer for me, that I can share with you on WhatsApp and on Blackboard that deals with the 330-day rule. Would you like me to do that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so then you watch that video. I'll do that after the Collaborate session. I'll post it on the WhatsApp groups and I'll also upload it onto Blackboard. And then watch that video. And if you are still unclear, you are going to get back to me, right?
Yes, I will.
Okay, yeah, I'm putting you on the spot now. I'm so happy to see you guys. Okay, let's go on. So Letang, are you okay now? You're going to watch the video once I send it, and then you'll get back to me if you still struggle.
Thank you. I'll text you.
Okay, cool. May you please help us with summarizing court cases for general deductions? Malekutu. Right. So, the thing is, right, if I summarize the court case for you, then I've summarized it and I know it, which is not going to help you any way, shape, or form. So maybe, Maleketu, if you can talk to me quickly, what is it exactly that you are struggling with in terms of summarizing court cases? Where are you getting stuck? Hello, Malekutu? Okay, I'm going to get back to Malekutu's question. Let's go to Ori. I see Ori number 2 who has a hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Okay, ma'am. I wanted to ask with regard to the expenditure and losses court case. You said Joffy and Court we don't have the flashcard for that.
Yes, yes.
So the one that we have only applies to in the income of production.
In the production of income, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the Joffy case with regards to expenditure and losses, it's that little bit in your textbook where it says expenditure are voluntary payments. In other words, the taxpayer decides out of their own free will to go and buy something or pay for something, whereas losses is involuntary. You don't decide to let somebody steal something from you and suffer a loss, or to have a fire burn something and destroy it. So expenditure is voluntary and losses are involuntary. Okay, but you don't have a flashcard for that one. Okay. Happy?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. I just want to get back to Maleketu with the explanation. So if you say explanation, are you talking about the facts of the court case? Because how I would approach the court cases, and I explained this to you when we did gross income as well. Remember, you have to know the name of the court case, and I see there's a question on that. I will get to that question after Lisa as well. The name of the case, the principle of the case, and then the component of the general deduction formula that it relates to. So the best way or the easiest way for me to remember that is I have 3 columns. I have column 1, which is the components of the general deduction formula. So for example, expenditure and losses. And then in the second column, I'll have the principle, which is, for example, in this case, expenditure is voluntary and losses are involuntary, and then the court case name, which is Joffy. I find, and this is why I also recommended it to you guys, that if you at least read through the summary of the court cases in your textbook, it just helps you to understand the principle. But the only way that you are going to be able to remember and apply these court cases is if you actually do the home tax questions. So Maleketu, what you can do is you are more than welcome to send me your summary of the court cases for general deductions. You can email it to me or you can send it to me via WhatsApp, and then I can help you by just reviewing it and letting you know where you might have missed something or not. Will that work for you? Okay, you can just send me a chat or let me know via the chat function. All right. Delisa said, if we can't remember one of the cases but know the principle behind it, can we still state it? Of course. You know, the court case names become less important and the principle becomes most important, and the application of that principle. So if you can't remember the name, cut your losses. In a discussion question, there will always be more marks available than the actual max. So let's say, for example, the question is 15 marks, and on the memo, you'll see there's usually 18 to 20 marks. So if you can't remember the name, let it go. All right. Don't waste your, I don't want to say waste your time, but don't lose time trying to remember a court case name when it's the principle and the application that is actually the most important part. Kiamohetsu, since it is not expenditure actually incurred, does it mean that it forms part of the negative test, or does it fall under losses? I'm assuming that you're talking about the issue of shares. The issue of shares, since it's not expenditure actually incurred, it is not going to form part of the negative test. Remember, the negative test, section 23G, is the one that says that you can only claim a deduction to the extent that it's been incurred or expended in the carrying on of a trade. And I have put in a detailed explanation of section 23G on that frequently asked questions document. So no, it's not going to fall under losses, and it's also not going to fall under the negative test. It's simply expenditure that is not actually incurred, which means the taxpayer won't be able to claim a deduction for that. Okay. Peter, can you please explain the prepaid expenses and how to apply the theory to that? The thing with prepaid expenses, right? And let me give you a tip. So if you have a pen or paper nearby, write it down. Do you know most students lose marks with prepaid expenses because they don't identify it? So that's the first thing you have to do. If you deal with a question and there is expenditure that was actually incurred by a taxpayer and it runs over the current year of assessment and the next year of assessment, red flags have to go off and you have to go, right, section 23H, prepaid expenditure. So that's the first thing. You have to identify it. Then, and Peter, unfortunately, there's no way I can make or explain this easier than following those steps that I gave to you in Study Pack 2, right? So in Study Pack 2, if you look at the steps, and I'm just quickly going to share my screen with you just so that we can all look at the same thing. Just give me a moment. Let me just try. I'm trying to figure out how this works as we go along. Where's my deductions? Study Pack 2. I'm going to open up the mobile one because it's going to open up the screens. Okay, so just give me a moment. Wait, that is going to take too long. I'm going to try something else. So just bear with me. Sorry, you guys. Study Pack 2. There we go. Right, so let's try it again. Share application. Where's my application window? There it is. Okay, so if you deal with prepaid expenditure, right, then this is the method that you need to follow. If you follow this method, you will get to the correct answer. I think the important thing here is just that it takes time to get used to this. Because it's definitely not the most easy theory. So you have to follow these steps. So the first thing you'll do is you'll have to make a list of all your prepaid expenses that you have to deal with, and then go through the steps. So step 1, is the expense allowable as a deduction in terms of Section 11A or legal expenses, which we're still going to get to, Section 11D repairs that we're still going to get to, or the pre-trade expenditure section, which is 11A. If the answer is yes, then you go to step 2. If the answer is no, Section 23H doesn't apply, and you just follow your normal rules. Then, does it relate to trading stock? Yes. Then the prepaid portion is deductible, so I don't have to worry about it any further. If the answer is no, move to step 3. Step 3, is it imposed by legislation? Yes. Claim it. No, go to step 4. Will the goods or services be received within 6 months after the end of the year of assessment? Yes. Deduct. No, go to step 5. The important thing on this particular slide that I just want you guys to note is that step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, you test each expense individually. In other words, if I have prepaid expenses for water and electricity, and I have a prepaid expense for rates and taxes, and I have a prepaid expense for insurance and a prepaid expense for security, I will test each of those separately in terms of step 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once you get to step 5, right, all the remaining prepaid portions, in other words, anything that has not yet been deducted because it's imposed by legislation or because the benefits will be received within 6 months, you're going to add all of those prepaid portions together, and if they're more than 100,000 rand, oops, SARS says, nope, no deduction for you this year. You will only be able to claim it in the next year. Okay. Peter, does that answer your question? I just want to get back to Peter. Okay, Delisa, I'm just going back to one of the previous things that you had. So for the notional interest, yes, it's the same as the opportunity costs. I just want to go down, prepaid expenses. Sumila said, is it safe to assume that the CSARS versus BP principle is that of P electric tramway? Yes, you can, because both of them takes you to what is the purpose of the expense and how closely related is it to your trading operations. Okay. Pre-trade expenses, Ratu, what exactly do you want me to explain with regards to pre-trade expenses? Please be as specific as possible. So I'm going to wait for you to get back to me on that one. Kilobugile, may you please explain the rule pertaining prepayments whereby a deduction is prohibited if an expenditure is prepaid over 6 months and whereby the prepaid expenditure is not supposed to exceed 100,000 Rand. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to those steps that I just showed on the screen. So for prepaid expenses, you start off, and I'm just going to share that screen again so that we're all on the same page, right? So there, that one is. So what you are asking about is number 4 and number 5, right? So what we're going to ask you at step 4 is, if I have a prepaid expense, let's say something like insurance, right? And my year of assessment runs from the 1st of March to the 28th of February. And on the 1st of February of the current year of assessment, I pay my insurance in advance for a year. So I pay for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. In other words, from the 1st of Feb until the end of January, right? That's my year that I paid for. If I look at my year of assessment, right, only 1 month, only February 2020 falls within my current year of assessment. So what I now have to do is I have to go and say, okay, this insurance, will the benefit of it be received within 6 months after the end of the year of assessment? And the answer, of course, is no, because 6 months within the year of my assessment is August. And this insurance payment that I've made stretches until January. So if my answer here is no, it falls outside of 6 months within my year of assessment, then you're going to move over to step 5. Of course, if you pay your insurance in February and you pay it for 3 months in advance, so you pay for February, March, April, then we are not going to have an issue with this one, because all the benefits of the insurance that I paid for in advance is going to be received within 6 months. Step number 5, with that one, you are going to take, like I said, the aggregate of all your prepaid expenditure that was not allowable as a deduction under any one of those steps, 1 to 4. You're going to add them all together, and if the value or the total of those prepaid portions exceed 100,000 Rand, then Section 23H stops you and says you can't deduct anything further, take it over to the next year of assessment. If the prepaid portion of all your expenses at that point is less than 100,000 Rand, then Section 23H does not apply and you can deduct everything. Have you worked through case study 5 together with the video? I just want to get back here. Together with the video on it. Ke lebogile? Okay, I'm going to wait for him or her to answer me. Sifiso, you can give me a question. Sifiso, hi. Okay. Sifiso. Okay. Prepaid, Peter. Hi, may you please explain pre-trade expenses, Section 11D? I think what you're referring to is Section 11 capital A. And like I asked Rato, please explain to me, or please clarify what you need me to explain. So where are you getting stuck on Section 11 capital A? Tiamo, may you please explain 2 court cases of BB South Africa and Rand mines under not of a capital nature? Tiamo, what exactly do you need me to clarify? So where are you getting stuck? Let's see. Just want to make sure that I haven't missed anything while I'm waiting for them. Pre-trade as a whole, I'm a bit confused with this section. Okay, so let me take you again to the study pack. Yeah, I just want to go to pre-trade expenses. There we go. Right. No, that's not the right one. Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing, you guys. I just want to get to the right slide. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so pre-trade expenses, and please don't overcomplicate this. Pre-trade expenses simply means that it is expenditure that a taxpayer incurs prior to starting a trade. So if you think about starting your own business, let's say, for example, you've seen now with COVID-19, there is a gap in the market for masks. Okay, so you decide you are going to start making masks, etc., etc., and you then decide. Everybody's trying to call me at the moment. Sorry, you guys. You then do a bit of market research and you pay for material, etc., etc., but you haven't actually started trading yet. In terms of the general deduction formula, because you did not incur your expenditure in the carrying on of a trade, you will not be allowed to claim the expenditure. So what Section 11 capital A does is give us technically a special deduction so that if we incur expenditure prior to starting a trade, we can claim also that expenditure as a tax deduction. Very important for Section 11A is that you look at the requirements. In other words, you can only start claiming deductions or pre-trade expenditure once your trade has actually started. You have actually incurred it, and it was incurred prior to the commencement or the starting of your trade. It would have been allowed as a deduction in terms of Section 11, which includes the general deduction formula, and it must not have been allowed as a deduction in any previous year of assessment. If we comply with that, we can deduct our pre-trade expenditure, but we can't create a loss. That's a special rule. I'm not going to go through that one in detail. I just want to get to the case study, right? So in case study 1, you had 2 trades. There is the administrative building that was purchased, and they therefore started the rental trade on the 1st of July 2020, and then also had a royalty trade that was not related to the rental trade. And the issue in this case study was the expenditure that relates to the rental trade that was incurred prior to the 1st of July 2020. So if you have a look at the bottom of the screen, we had rate and taxes that was actually incurred, and for the period prior to the commencement of trade, it was 60,000 Rand, and for the rest of the year of assessment, in other words, once trade started, it was 33,000 Rand. So you can, I'm assuming you've already got through the planning of this solution. So I just want to get to this one. So we have a trade rentals, right, that we earn gross income from, which is 50,000 Rand. We then deduct the current year's expenditure and losses actually incurred. And remember, in terms of Section 11A, you can only start claiming once your trade is commenced, and our rates and taxes for the period 1 July to 31 December is 33,000 Rand, which we deduct, right? The problem is the pre-trade expenses, because we can't just automatically go and deduct that, okay? We have to test it against the requirements of Section 11A, which we did. And we said that, it has trade has commenced. It was actually incurred prior to the commencement of trade. It's not, or it is allowable as a deduction in terms of 11A. We haven't yet been allowed to claim it as a deduction. And therefore, we can deduct the 60,000 Rand. But you can't just go ahead and deduct the entire 60,000 Rand, because it cannot exceed income from that specific trade. So what do? We calculate the income. What's income? That 50,000 Rand minus 33,000 Rand is going to give me 17,000. So of the 60,000 pre-trade expenses, I can only deduct 7,000 in the current year of assessment. And you'll see then, if you take that 50,000 gross income, less 33,000, less 17,000, that net effect is going to be 0. You can't go into a negative with pre-trade expenditure. That which I can't deduct in the current year, so that 43,000, I can then carry forward to the 2021 year of assessment, and then go through the same process again. Check that there's enough income, and then claim it as a deduction. If you still have questions on 11A, right, what I want you to do is go through the study pack material again, okay? Go through that case study 1 again, as well as the video if you can watch it, and then whatever you are still unclear on at that point, send it to me on WhatsApp or via an email, and we can take it from there. Tiamo, I'm still waiting for you to just quickly get back to me on what you want clarification on. I'm going to go to Malaketu again. Since interest is payable on a capital loan, is therefore not of a capital nature, yes. Will the interest therefore always be deductible? So interest is an interesting one, because we actually have a section in the Act that gives us a specific deduction for interest, which is Section 24J, which you guys don't do in ETXN2708. It is a CTA section. But to answer your question quickly, yes. Interest, as long as it is incurred in for purposes of trade and it's in the production of income, you will be allowed to claim it, even if it is interest incurred on a capital asset, right? So if you take out a loan to buy a manufacturing machine, which is a capital asset, the interest on that loan will also be deductible, provided that it is for purposes of trade and in the production of income. Kilebogile, no, don't worry. Technical problems is part and parcel of what we are currently dealing with. Okay, so go watch the video, and if you have any more questions, you can just get back to me. Anya, with regards to next week's assessment, how exactly will that work? Right. So what's going to happen is, and we will all send you detailed instructions Monday morning. You will access Blackboard on Monday morning, and you will go to online assessments, and there you will see a link. An assignment link, let me put it that way. That assignment link contains the ethical declaration that you have to complete. So it's a document, a PDF document that you have to read and make sure you understand what you are reading. And then you are going to put in your student number and click to say that you know exactly what you are agreeing to. Essentially, what the ethics declaration just asks you to do is to make sure that the work is your own, that you don't share, for example, answers on a WhatsApp group, which we again found this morning, and which has been escalated to the faculty. Students that are sharing the answers of Blackboard quizzes with each other on a WhatsApp group. And I just want to stop there, and I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but you guys, do not share answers. It is not worth it. Firstly, because it's unethical. Secondly, because you're not doing anybody any favors. You know, at the end of the day, everybody has to pass a module on their own. You're not going to have somebody in an exam venue that is going to be able to, you know, share answers with you. And I don't want to appoint an accountant that has never, that never did work on their own, that can't figure something out. And I've said this to you so many times. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to not know. You just have to figure it out. And if you can't figure it out on your own, don't get the answer from another student, because then you are never going to know the answer. Ask me, ask Ntabi Singh, but don't get involved in that sharing answers on WhatsApp groups. Okay, it's just going to create trouble that you don't want. Okay, getting back to the process. So you are then going to complete that form and upload it onto Blackboard. There's going to be an assignment link for it. Once you have to, so that has to happen, I think, within the first half an hour. I don't think it's going to take you longer than that. Once you've completed the ethics declaration and you've uploaded it, you will see that a second link will appear, and that will be the actual assignment, right? So it's a 60-mark assignment. It is going to be based on all the work we did up until and including Learning Unit 5. And if you want to get an idea of what it looks like, you can have a look at the 2019 assessments. It's essentially a test in the form of an assignment. Okay, that's what it is. So if you do your home tax questions and you've gone through the theory and you've gone through all the case studies and the examples in the textbook, you will definitely be fine with the assignment. I cannot see that there is going to be any issues. John, I'm going to get to that. Is there going to be a time limit? For assignment 1, because we know that a lot of students are still sorting out some technical issues, and apparently there are still students that are waiting to get laptops, etc., etc. There is no time limit, so you are going to download the assignment on Monday morning, the 18th of May, and you then have the whole week to work on the assignment. The last date for submission is Monday, the 25th of May at 8 o'clock. Just to quickly get back to that time limit, that might change for the assignments going forward. So it could be that for assignment 2, there could be a time limit, but we will give you warning or fair warning with regards to that. Should it be so we type out the answers on that assignment? No. So how it's going to work, and the assignment will give you all the detailed instructions. You are going to do the assignment similar to what you would have done for an actual test. So, you know, either writing your answers on your exam pad or pieces of blank paper that you have. You also have the option of typing it. You will see that if you do want to type, there are instructions in terms of what the font must be and the font size. My suggestion or recommendation is that you try to replicate your assignment scenario as close as possible to test circumstances. So for a 60-mark test, you will have 2.5 hours, no, 60 marks, it's 1.5 hour. You have 1.5 hours to write it. So that is what I would try to do, is study as you would for a normal test, and then block out 1.5 hours where you do the assignment. What you do have at the moment is the benefit of your resources with you, so your textbooks, etc., etc. And there's nothing that's going to stop you from consulting those. I think you would need to do it if you are unclear on something. You have the benefit of doing that now, but I would still try as far as possible to, just to make sure that you're ready for the second semester. Even though we don't know what the second semester is going to look like, if we do get back to campus, you are going to have to write tests. And the sooner you get into, I'm just having to point to a child who's making a noise, to make sure that you are ready for the second semester, that you practice as if it's actual test circumstances. So maybe ask, a family member or a friend to time you, etc., etc. But that's something that you can decide. So just to Rato, to just get your first question. So you're not going to complete the answers on that document. It is a separate document that you are going to complete and then upload. So I don't know if you did the practice test that I ran from in that time period from 20 to 30 April. There was something that you had to complete on Blackboard, but you also had to submit a PDF of your own attempt. For the assignment, it's just going to be that PDF submission. Will it be mobile friendly? Yeah, well, I hope so. Okay. We have worked on the assumption that we will definitely have to enlarge the font, so the words in the assignment will be bigger. We're going to put one question or each question on a new page to make it easier for you as far as possible. That is also why the assignments won't be printable, because we want to place students that only work on their own and students that are able to work on a computer with a printer on the same footing. So it won't be printable, so that everybody needs to work from the screen. Your third question, should it be completed in one sitting? Like I said, no. You download on Monday, the 18th of May, and then you can decide when during the week you are going to work on it, and then submit it. Like I said, I would suggest that you at least try to do it within 1.5 hours. Remember, you can do it multiple times. Just make sure that you submit your final draft on Monday at the latest. I would also suggest to not wait until Monday the 25th to submit. As soon as you're done and you're happy, submit it. And if you have access to the network, I would say by latest, show you're safe and that there are no technical issues that you might have to contend with. Don't submit it later than Sunday evening. Okay. Does all this apply to all SOA modules? Yes and no. EEBS, the ethics module, will not run the same format because they are a continuous evaluation module. But for EMAC 2714, EACG 2708, EACC 3708, and EFIN 2708, they will all work on the same principle. So none of us are going to release new content next week. It's only the assignments. And all of us will have a release on the 18th of May, Monday, and all of us have a due date of Monday the 25th. So that's all you have to focus on in those modules, is just the assignments. 60 marks. I think EMAC might be different. I don't know if theirs is 60 marks as well. I'll have to check in with Michelle, but I'm sure she will share that with you. Okay, so Anya, John, and Ratu, did I answer your questions? I hope so. Okay, is there any more questions or anything else you're wondering about? Great, thanks for the feedback, Rato. Okay, so you guys, we are, I think, coming to the end of the session. My plan is to, going forward, except for assignment weeks, to on a Wednesday have a session like this on Blackboard Collaborate, where we can, just touch base with each other. But I will on a Monday just give you warning as part of the announcement that is going to happen. So next week there won't be a Collaborate session because you will be busy with the assignment. But the week after that, I will again start with the Blackboard Collaborate. Anything else from your side, or are we done? And nobody says anything. It sounds like class. I miss you guys so much. Yeah, I really miss you guys. I know it sounds so soppy, but I do. Say I have, Rata asked another question. Say I have a question regarding the assignment. Can I email you or WhatsApp? Ratu, I will have to get back to you on that one because we are still in discussions as the lecturers group in terms of how we are going to deal with that, because I don't think, yeah, so I'll get back to you because if it's something on the technical side, like how to do the submission and how to do the upload, of course you can contact me. But if it's a question that is in the assignment, I'm not sure how we are going to approach that. We will have to, yeah, I'll have to get back to you. Okay. Maybe Ratu, if you don't mind, send me a WhatsApp and just repeat that question for me so that I can just remember, because I am getting on in years. And stress definitely doesn't help my memory. So then I can just, take it up with the rest of the group. John, do you think universities will open this year? Personal opinion? Yo, that's difficult. I'm hopeful that, based on the university's plans of able to return to campus September, my personal opinion is I don't know. I don't know if you look at the government communications about, hitting our peak for COVID-19 in September. I don't know how we'll be able to go back to campus. Definitely not full, full camp, like face to face. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how we do it. John, I don't know. I don't have an answer because I don't know what it's going to look like. I think what's important just for me is that you guys remember that we are on our side as lecturers working really hard to make sure that you guys are okay. And I know it's not easy. Rata, you just said it there. This online learning is tricky. It feels so optional and being home is more tricky. I know it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But my youngest son has a saying, which he loves to throw around at home these days. It is what it is. And that is unfortunately our reality. It is what it is. And we can just take it day by day. So what I would suggest is if you need help and with planning and, managing and balancing working, doing your academics at home and doing the other stuff like chores and etc. at home, just get in touch with me. I've got loads of resources that can help you with time management. And I'll be very happy to share that. Just a last one, Zara, what's going to happen about our assignments? Zara, what assignments are you referring to? Maybe if you can just clarify your question for me. It is what it is. That is absolutely true. Levin, I'm going to answer you quickly while I wait for Zara just to clarify her assignment question. I would like to know, when it comes to the prohibitants of Section 23M, how do you know which related expenses should you not deduct when the income is not mainly of commission? Okay, so Landvin, what you need to go and have a look at, and I just quickly want to share that screen with you again so that you are able to see it. It is part of the study pack. Just give me a moment. I'm going to get to 23M. So that I can quickly share this screen with you. Share application. I've been doing that a lot. I'm talking to myself all the time. Okay, so if you look at slide number 35 in the study pack, right? If you do not earn remuneration, mainly in the form of commission, in other words, you're a regular salaried person like me. I earn mainly a salary. I don't earn commission, right? Then these are the only expenses I am allowed to claim against my remuneration. I can claim my contributions to retirement funds. I can claim legal expenses in relation to my employment. So, for example, let's say the university owe me a salary, but they never paid me the salary. So I take them to court and I incur legal expenses. Then I can claim those legal expenses. Wear and tear in relation to employment. If I have to buy a computer for my work, then, and we're still going to get to capital allowances, so don't worry about the detail of these, but then I can claim the wear and tear on that computer. Bad debts in relation to the employment. We're going to look at special deductions in Learning Unit 7. Doubtful debts, refunds of employee benefits or restraint of trades, and then qualifying rent, repairs, and others. So this is the only things that people who earn remuneration, not mainly in a form of commission, that they can deduct. What this means, to answer your question, is that anything else, any other expenditure. So if you think, for example, about entertainment expenses, or paying for, I don't know, somebody to read some of your work, none of those will be deductible because you don't earn income mainly in the form of commission. Okay. Zara, our PwC assignment. In April, I already announced or sent you the announcement with the bad news that the PwC assignment, unfortunately, won't be able to run this year. The PwC assignment is based on group work. That is its main function. You need to be able to work together in a group, and unfortunately that is not possible in our current situation, and because the second semester and the rest of the year is also so uncertain. So I am really sorry about that, because yes, I worked really hard on that thing to get it ready for you guys in its current form this year, but it is what it is. So unfortunately the PwC assignment is gone. I will be sorry. I saw that. I know. I'm very sad about it. But your continuous evaluation will be bumped up to 15% to take into account the fact that we lost that one. Okay. Anything else, you guys? This is really lovely. Not really seeing you, but seeing you join. And remember, you can also always WhatsApp, send me an email, and Tabi Singh is also available. She's in Kwakwa with her family at the moment, but I luckily get to chat to her at least once a day. Yeah, and look after yourself. And if you feel overwhelmed, remember it's normal. We're all feeling overwhelmed. But we will get through this, and we will get through this stronger. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that your academic year is completed successfully. Okay. So, hugs and kisses. Look after yourself. This is the end of the first ETXN live chat. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. I'm just going to hang around until 12, but yeah, this session is officially done, but I'll stop recording only at 12. I'm good, you guys. I am, there are days, I'm not going to lie to you, that I feel as if I am definitely losing my mind. So spare a thought for my poor children and my husband who has to deal with that. But we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Landon, I would also like to know if expenses is of a capital nature, for example, repairs to a computer. We are going to look at that repairs specifically in Learning Unit 8, which is capital allowances. So I'm going to, Landon, I'm going to park that one until we get to capital allowances, but we're definitely going to have a look at that one. So if you do repairs to a capital asset, what the effect is. I think that's going to become our class motto for the rest of the year. It is what it is. Lucas, when can we expect this recorded session on Blackboard? It usually takes about 24 hours. So I will check again tomorrow. And as soon as I see that it's available, I will send you guys an announcement just so that you can access it then. Okay. Okay, you guys, it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to say bye. Look after yourself. Stay safe.